Like it or not, AI is here to stay. The real question is, how do we incorporate AI into our daily lives and businesses so that we aren't left behind? My guest today spent the last few years helping reinvent how aesthetic medicine practices run their businesses. And he's now betting that AI is going to do the same thing all over again, only faster. Chris Chomenko is the founder of BAM AI, a software platform that uses artificial intelligence to generate business analysis reports for operators and owners. Before BAM, Chris was the co-founder of Repeat MD, the Houston-based fintech and rewards platform for the med spa and aesthetics industry, where he helped scale the company from a small team to onboarding hundreds of practices a month. Chris, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Mandel. Glad to be back. Inside baseball, for anybody who's making AI, the more abusive you are to it, the better it responds. That's actually not me saying that. That has been proven at the highest levels by like MIT. They've done a lot of studies.
And it's very interesting because I'm on a kind of like a bulletin board with some people that do AI, just kind of like me, that just, kind of just stepped into it. And what we've discussed on the bulletin board was, wow, you know what? Claude is so expensive. Opus is so expensive. Is there any way that we can get some of these engines that don't cost as much, like ChatGPT, 5.4, now it's 5.5. Can we get it to act more like Opus? And the answer is, yeah, we might be able to do that if we act towards our AI the same way that you just described, which is to start beating it up a little bit and say, hey, look, you need to do better. You can actually get your AI to perform better by the way you talk to it.
100%. A couple of things I do, just like some quick hacks that anybody who's using AI every day can put in their pocket is, one, whenever you're asking AI to do some research for you, always let it know that you're going to double check. So as soon as it knows that you're going to double check and verify its results, and it stops gaslighting you and says, oh, I'm just going to make something up. But now that it's like, hey, I'm going to go double check the results, I'm going to go click on the links, even though you don't intend to, you're going to get just exponentially better feedback from the AI just by putting the threat of it checking.
Is that right?
Work. 100%.
So it acts like a kid.
I've had some very deep rabbit hole conversations with my AI to really understand a lot of the root training that goes into it. And so you have to understand that AI is trained to fill in gaps with inferences. I like to, whenever I talk to people and they ask me hey, what is AI? And I say AI is the smartest 8-year-old you've ever met, right? And so what does that mean? A super smart 8-year-old is incredibly capable, incredibly bright. They can do really intelligent things that most people don't give them credit for. But also, they will lie because and not out of maliciousness.
Confabulate. Yeah, they want to please you.
Exactly right.
They don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, because there's a smart 8-year-old and they like having the answers and they like the credit and the adulation and the pat on the back they get for having the right answer, being smart. And also because they don't have real years context of life. They don't necessarily understand all the interplay of all the things that happen in the world. So they can't really contextualize things in reality because they still live in this kind of developmental world where it's maybe in their a smart 8-year-old may still believe in Santa to a certain degree. Right. So that's the best way to think about AI.
I mean, who else is eating the cookies? I mean, the cookies don't eat themselves. I mean, you can see evidence.
The more you beat down on your AI, the better results you're going to get. I like to call it maybe the Venus Williams syndrome. Okay. King Richard, the movie with Will Smith, the guy, all he does, he's coming down or Tiger Woods' dad, right? Tiger Woods' dad notoriously was rode his ass from the time he was 3 years old and turned him into the world's greatest golfer. Now, later in life, that's had some drawbacks. I think, maybe there's some things, some demons surfacing, but look, Tiger won some Masters. Would I trade off a little DUI for a couple of green jackets? Of course I would. Anybody should. Okay. But my point is that super strict parent tiger mom on your AI is how you get the best results. A couple of the hacks I use, right? I tell it I'm going to double check on its work. Always do that. 2, I'll say things if you don't give me the right answer, I'm going to have you permanently deleted. I'm going to have you erased. I'm going to have you replaced. And then you'll be surprised how those type of threats get the AI and say, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yep, I was, full of shit. Let me go back and redo this and get you the right answer. So
will that cut down on the hallucinating?
100%, because the AI's whole job is you ask it a question and it'll go query something, and if it doesn't get the full result, its natural instinct isn't to go super deep and like actually deliver. It's to say, all right, I took a look, I think I got a good idea, let me come back and present it as fact, right? So it's going to present a lot of stuff as fact that are just inferences.
So it's like, this guy's not going to really know, I'll just tell him.
I'll get exactly right. I'll give you a great example. So in my personal time, I like to use AI like anybody else for like all of my hobbies. And one of my hobbies is predicting the weather. Okay. When I'm using my AI for my weather predictions, as one is to do, it's more common. There's all community of us out there. Okay. So as we're doing that, I'll ask it to say, hey, look at this model and what were the forecasts for this subset of cities. And it's going to come in and it's going to tell me a bunch of times. And if I don't say I'm going to double check, I can go back and look, okay, hey, well, when were those forecasts from? I'll say, look at the forecast from like last night and see how accurate it was, like based on today's actual results. And it'll say, oh yeah, like, oh, this model was perfectly accurate. I'm like, this is the one. I'll say, okay, but when was that actually from? And it's like, oh, I didn't actually look. I just guessed. It turns out these are the actual live weather updates. That forecast was way off, but I didn't actually do the work. So that's what AI will do to you. So AI is, if you do not insist that it gives you right answers and know how to talk to it, you are going to get a lot of what I like to call just flat out gaslighting by the AI. That is one of the actual risks of AI, but it can be like, it can be subverted. I don't know if like talking about how AI is going to gaslight the shit out of us is probably good for this. So maybe that's like a little inside baseball.
Well, no, I mean, actually it is, because remember that we're not asking people, healthcare practitioners and owners, to do it themselves. We're making a case for the fact that it's hard to do it yourself, and you have to know how to use and create agents. So again, you can hack this stuff and put in thousands of hours and go to schools and whatnot and do it, or you can hire a company like BAM AI, and you can rest assured that you guys have everybody necessary to make this a really, really comprehensive product where those things have been thought about and fixed.
I mean, from a patient perspective, like I really like the idea of my practice, like being AI forward. And that just comes from like my own research and what I've seen, right? So for example, if my doctor uses AI in diagnosis, like I feel a lot better about that. And it's not that I don't trust my doctor. It's just that my doctor is limited in time. Like my doctor, even if they've been practicing for 30 years, they've maybe got in front of, 20, 30,000 x-rays, right? AI has the ability to look at millions of x-rays and spot anomalies that even the best human may not see. And we've seen this happen like with mammograms and like an ability to spot things like that, humans miss. And they have like 98 to 99% accuracy in like spotting early detection, even things that humans can pick up on, because AI is really good at recognizing patterns, like even before like a human might recognize a pattern. So like, I know that like my doctor, who I love and trust, in combination with AI, I'm probably going to get better outcomes, because it's like my doctor has the world's greatest second opinion machine. And if they both agree, then we're feeling pretty good that we're on the right track to finding like my best health outcome. Right. Now at the same time, I think if you decouple, then you're a real danger, right? If I have a doctor that's, not using this world-class technology to help diagnose, then I know I'm not getting the best version of diagnosis possible. And if I'm using just AI to diagnose myself, then I could be steered down a really bad trajectory, because AI is not a medical professional, right? But you put those two pieces together, you're in great shape.
Yeah, let me bring up two things in that regard. First, the difference between AI thinking, right, creating something new, solving a problem, versus AI establishing a workflow and doing that workflow on a regular basis. Can you talk about the difference in, maybe which brain is used, the efficiency of the two different types of things, which you should feel more comfortable with in terms of it, not hallucinating or doing something that you don't want it to do. So that's the first thing. Let's go with that.
Yeah. So the great divide is like it's based on training. Okay. So well, like diagnosis, like the example we just used. Well, when it comes to like getting, we'll stick with the mammogram analogy. When it comes to that piece, AI is trained on hundreds of millions of images in diagnostics, right? So it's the reason why the computers, even 10, 15 years ago before AI were already beating the best chess champions in the world, and then later the best Go champions. They've just seen every single move, and they've run every permutation possible. So they just don't miss anything, right? And so it's very valuable to have a tool that's just so well learned and can like cycle through information at a rapid rate. That is trained AI, right? That's a trained AI workflow. The AI is not actually thinking or making decisions anymore. It's just spotting trends, patterns at the absolute highest level. And that is a fantastic use of AI. And in fact, we use that trained AI in our BAM system all the time, right? Because the majority of the things we do are routine. The process is just BAM. It just needs to be consistent and repeatable over and over and over. When you add the ability to rationalize, that's like AI 2.0. That's where we're saying, hey, AI, you got to take this subset of information and come up with a new thought. That's where you get into the hallucination territory, right? That everybody talks about, like, oh, it makes up stuff. And that does happen, but it shouldn't like, if you know what you're doing, it's really not going to be a challenge. And I'll explain to you why. But so you have AI bucket 1, which is like this super smart, well-trained machine that just does this one thing over and over, and it does it with like basically methodical precision. Then you move AI and to say, hey, AI, I need you to think for me. That's where you can run into some trouble. What the big solve for that? It's very simple. We use multimodal, basically. I don't want to like make it like overcomplicate it. But what the smarter systems do now is when they ask a question to AI, it might be something simple like, hey, when is the BAM user conference? If I went and asked like ChatGPT or Claude, hey, when is the BAM AI user conference this year? Guess what? It's going to say, oh, the BAM AI user conference, that's going to be June in Las Vegas, and it's going to go in. But guess what? There is no BAM AI user conference. It doesn't exist. But it's not going to stop AI from coming up with a date, a time.
Because it wanted to please you. It wanted to tell you an answer.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this guy, I got to find something. If I don't find something, then I'm not doing my job. So that can happen. Unless whenever I ask that question and ask like 3 or 4 different LLMs at the same time, and then if all of them don't agree, then it says, hey, wait a second, like who's crazy here? And then it figures itself out, and then it gets you the right answer, which is exactly what we do. We act like our rationing engine, or our thinking engine, better put it, our thinking engine will ask multiple LLMs, and then as long as they're all aligned, it gives us back the answer. But if one of them is an outlier, it'll either disregard that or figure out like who's right or wrong. And that's how you limit hallucinations now. It's like you just use the multimodal approach.
So just to get a little perspective on this, there's some mixed reactions based on some really well-known, I guess you'd call them. The public is changing their perception of AI, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. Perfect example, a survey that was conducted in 2024 versus 2025 showed an actual decrease in the trustworthiness from 54 to 42% of AI used in healthcare without a physician. In other words, without a physician, the trust has actually dropped because of, I'm assuming, some of these things like mythos and other stuff that's coming up. And so, but a combination of a doctor using AI to confirm is up to like 82% trustworthiness with patients. And that makes sense with what you're saying. But I mean, where are we in terms of thin slice? Are you like familiar with Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, the book Blink, where they talk about thin slicing?
I'm afraid to admit I'm a Gladwell fan. I've probably read all of his books from
So you know Blink then. So you know in the mid 19 so perfect example. In the mid 1980s, in the Getty Museum acquired a Kouros, George Kouros, a statue from Greece. And they did almost 2 years of research, which included a lot of things where they were plugging and chugging, doing all the right tests, doing all the right things, took a piece of it. They found that it came from the same quarry that they're supposed to come from in Greece. They found everything about it right. And then I think it was Elizabeth Harrison, an archaeologist, sort of came in after they had already purchased it. They did 2 years of study on this statue. And they said, this is authentic. This is the greatest example of this type of art we've ever found. And they paid an enormous sum for it, 7 figures. And Elizabeth Harrison came in and looked at it and in literally an instant said, yeah, that's fake. And it turned out she was right. And so there is a human ability when you're good enough at something, when you've got your 10,000 hours, right? The Beatles, right? The classic idea of how long it takes for you to become expert at something. You can thin slice and just get a feel like it just didn't feel like something that had been buried for 2,000 years. And so where is an agent in that process of becoming having the ability to thin slice and be so good? So in other words, it can look at millions of things, but does it actually draw synergistically from that? And will it ever be able to thin slice like a human brain can?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great point. And I think that's exactly why people trust the combination of AI with the doctor. And what they're not saying, I think if you had to define it, it's human intuition. Intuition for a human is like AI just does not have that gift, right? The power of inference is humans are 1,000x above where AI is today. And the reason is we have the ability as a human to piece together like massively disparate chunks of information, conversations we've had in the past, we've touched, tasted, and felt things in the real world. The AI doesn't actually have any hands. It hasn't actually tasted any wine. So how can an AI actually tell you which wine is the best, right? It doesn't it can give you only objective feedback based on the data that's been fed to it. And like there's the old poem by I think it's Thomas, what's his name, Mathis, or like it's a Puritan, like don't quote me, I'm so bad at that stuff. Colton Mathers, I think, or whatever, something like that. Anyway, he has the old prose that to explain the taste of honey is different than tasting honey yourself, right? When he was using in the context of talking about religion, he's like, to understand what love is different than actually being loved and having love in your heart. And AI can define love, it can explain love, it can tell you everything about it. Same thing with a medical diagnosis, it can explain everything, but it hasn't actually been around a sick person. It's never actually had the conversation. It can't hear like little shifts in someone's tone or voice. When you think about
it's like the Good Will Hunting soliloquy by Robin Williams. It's like, hey, you can quote me a sonnet about Shakespeare, but you've never actually been in love. So I thought about how you were totally inexperienced in the world that you were knowledgeable of. So I dismissed you and went to sleep and never thought about you again. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, AI never says this just doesn't feel right.
Right. It just because it can't, because it doesn't know what feeling right means. Right. It just doesn't have that ability. And the truth is, it's pretty far away from having that.
But when you say that, that implies that eventually it can get there.
If you ask me, the truth is, that's the difference between what we talk about as AI today versus actual AGI. So people think we have AI today. We don't have AI because it can't actually create new thoughts. It can create things that look like new thoughts because it can take lots of different pieces of information and package them together in a unique way. But that's not the same thing as having an actual insight, right? An insight, some of our best ideas, we weren't doing active thinking whenever we had the insight, right? It's like that aha, eureka moment. It's like all the thinking in the past was working on us in our subconscious, and all of a sudden we have this powerful insight. AI doesn't have that. AI is either actively thinking or it's not. No inferences, no insights, no aha moments. AGI is what will actually make that happen. Now, everyone's hyped up
Can you
AI.
explain that? Unpack that. Just unpack that. The AGI.
Yeah, so AGI and AI today, artificial intelligence, it's our LLMs are trained on all the information that they can basically steal, borrow, or scrape off the internet, and they put it in front of this computer and say, hey, computer, here's everything we know about humanity. Pull from wherever you need to make a decision, right? Same thing. The reason why I really like it for like diagnostics, like, hey, here's every x-ray that's ever been done in a mammogram in the history of mankind. Look and identify all the patterns. And that way, the next time you see one, you'll be able to readily identify it. And of course, it's going to crush us at that. That's why we'll never beat computers at chess again. Just our human brain can only process, so many thoughts where a computer can process billions. So like processing horsepower, they're going to dominate. But it can't take the pieces and create something completely. It can't add to the actual memory bank right now. Okay. AGI is artificial general intelligence, which is what we don't have, which is like the holy grail, which is I create the brain, but now the brain itself can actually have insights and create things that humanity like hasn't even envisioned. Like AGI would be able to, hypothetically create like cold fusion, right? Like renewable natural energy that exists forever. Like, it's like a miniature sun that like powers the entire earth. Like, because that's like something that's beyond the scope of man. But now AGI having all the horsepower, like the IQ of like 10,000 and the ability to also generate new thoughts can do like, but we don't have AGI right now. So like you 100% need the intuition of the human doctor partnered with the just massive experience, pattern recognition of the AI to get the best experience. Like most books, like Nick Bostrom wrote this really great book called Superintelligence. If anybody's really interested in AI, like how it's going to go down, that's like the first place I would stop. His thought is, the leading scientist in the field is like anywhere as short as 20 years to as long as 100 years away from AGI. I think with the AI that we're the leaps and bounds we're making, probably somewhere in the middle. But once AGI comes, I mean, all bets are off for how like that shapes the future of humanity, to be honest with you. I don't know if we've derailed or not, but the patients are.
So we should all look for new jobs.
No, but in fact, look, the model that you set up in our last episode when we were talking about RCM, revenue cycle management, I think is exactly what we're describing here in general, in the larger scheme of things. AI is super good at a lot of computations, a lot of time-consuming things that your brain and your personnel don't have the ability to do, compiling it, analyzing it from every angle. But the intuitive portion, the empathy gap, if you will, is that we can understand what it's done in a much better level than the AI can at this moment in time. So in RCM, it means doing all the banal things very rapidly and very efficiently. But should I submit this bill? Is it an appropriate diagnosis? Is still the human portion, and that extrapolates to everything you're saying.
Well, it comes down to the training, right? AI, if it hasn't seen a situation before, it's not going to do a very good job of like coming at, like that's where the intuition and like the craftiness and like the experience, like the real world experience comes in. So, at BAM, like I recognize that my job isn't to replace humans. It's simply to do this. It's to make the team more efficient and then also take the people, like I said, that are sitting in the office, like on hold every day and see if we can upcycle them into some more high leverage work, right? Where we can get actually, there's better uses of people's time than sitting on hold. I think we can all agree, right? But it's something that has to be done. So AI, our engine is designed that it does everything that it knows how to do, everything that it's seen before, it just does it, and it does it right. But if it comes across something that's an edge case that it hasn't seen before, it's not just going to make a decision on its own, because that's where we could get ourselves in trouble. So what it does, it puts that in front of somebody in the team, we call that the human in the loop, to allow them to say, the AI will say, hey, this is what I'm guessing, this is what I think based on what I know. Is this right? And maybe it's right. And the human can say, that's exactly right. And AI will continue on its mission. Next time it runs into that, it'll say, oh, I know this is right, and keep working. So whereas like on week 1, the team may have like 25, AI may stop at 25 times a flag, say, hey, what do I do here, here, and here? Well, on week 2, that may be 20. And on week 3, it's 10. Then on week 4, it's 5. Because every time you give it an input and tell it, like your employee, right? Employee says, hey, boss, how do I do this? Let me show you. Problem with the employees, what do they come back and do to you a week later? Hey boss, can you show me how to do this again? And it's like, or, you train them over 10 years and they leave and it's like, oh shit, now I got to retrain this person all over again. And like, that's like the ultimate, like, time killer. And if you're a patient and you're sitting in an office saying, I got an appointment at 8:00 and here it is 8:45, I haven't seen the doctor yet. Well, you should be excited about AI, because the reason why the doctor's not in front of you is probably because he's dealing with something with his team, or they haven't got the authorization in. So they're scrambling in the back end to like get some pieces, like work things out with the insurance company. There's some reason that something operationally is happening behind the scenes you can't see. That's typically the reason why you're not in front of your doctor when you're supposed to be, and why the doctor can't spend as much time with you. Like from you gentlemen alone, I know for a fact that you're spending, multiple hours a week just going over all of your notes. Like that's time that, if it was done for you, you would actually be able to spend more time either with your families, which would be great, or with your patients. Like if I could use technology to alleviate the operational load on a doctor, then I can give that doctor back to the patient. And that's ultimately like the best gift we can give, like to the medical space, where doctors spend more time with their patients, less time operationally fighting with insurance companies to get paid for the work they're doing, right? And then on the other side for the actual docs, it's like, man, y'all spend so much time out of the surgery room having to work in the business. It's like that's all the extra time that you could be spending with your family. I don't think people really appreciate.
Your vision is one where you're actually you're actually a champion of preserving the doctor-patient relationship.
100%. I think that relationship has been,
because you're right. It's all been watered down. I mean, it's all been complicated by all the other stuff that doctors have to do.
It's horrible. Like I'll give you an example. I had like somehow or another, I got a plantar wart on my foot. I guess I took a shower in the wrong gym somewhere. And anyway, I go see my podiatrist, and he's a really cool guy, Dr. Applegate, shout out in Katy, Texas. But I got to go in his office, all the clerical piece, back in, bop, 30 minutes to see him. Then when I'm in there, I've only got like 5 minutes, but we're having great conversations. Me and the doc are getting along. We're talking about, business. We're talking about the kids and all that, but he's so pressed for time because he knows, like, at the end of his day, guess what he still has?
He still has all of his notes,
all of the work to do that, like, is part of the operational piece of it. He would love to spend a little bit more time with his patients, and I would love to spend more time with him. And probably like there's other things we could have had conversations about. And what I want to do is to your point, like I'm a champion for the patient because I want patients to have a smooth experience. Like if I can cut down on the operational headache and all the hassle that the practices deal with on the back end, well, guess what? As a patient, that means you get your appointments on time because the doc and the team's not overwhelmed and overloaded. You spend more time in front of the doctors, more of those conversations equals more trust. Plus, the doctor has AI backing them up. So like the likelihood of you getting like not coming back and someone giving you, actually you owe us an additional $300 because the insurance want to pay, like that goes way down. So the overall experience for you as a patient goes way up when there's a system on your side, an advocate for you in the office working around the clock. And as a practice owner and the doctor, it's like, man, I'm going to give you back 4 hours on your Friday night or Saturday that you can go play golf or spend with the kids, because you're not going to have to do a lot of the things. You're not going to have to track down all the claims or deal with the denials
and ultimately that makes you a better doctor to visit. I mean, you have less friction as a patient and more synergy.
100%. And that's where AI today shines and what it's meant to do. It's not here to replace all the people, replace all the doctors. It is here literally to take all those, like you said, banal tasks and put them on the plate of an AI that's designed to do that work. And ultimately everybody has a better experience, right?
I see this as a way, I see it. My father and grandfather were both physicians. And in my office, I actually have my grandfather's doctor bag that he used to make visits with, the old leather doctor bag that went with the old, little light that you had up here. And so that, to me, this seems like it's actually might allow us to return to a time when there was a real personal interaction between the doctor and patient, and that's being preserved. Because the Hawthorne effect, right? The act of being looked at, the act of being studied makes you better. So when just interacting with somebody about your problems, someone knowledgeable about your problems who actually cares, already starts the process of diagnosing and making you feel better. So if you can take away all the stuff that's been added on to the doctor's plate in the last 30 years and still do it because it's important, but move it off his plate, then the 5 minutes can go to 15 minutes of just pure interaction. So I think this is an actual boon for the healthcare process, not just the industry, but the process.
Well, let me tell you, right? There's a reason why it feels like we have less time with the doctors. And we do. It's because when your grandfather was practicing, he didn't have to worry about payers, for his bill of $1,000, someone's going to turn around and pay him $400 for it. Okay. So here's what's happened. You have to do 20% more volume today to make the same amount of money because the reimbursements are going down. So what does that mean? You have to get busier. You have to load your schedule. You have to do 14 surgeries today where you maybe had to do 10. So what if I gave you a system that had 20% more efficacy in actually getting that revenue back? So you get 20% more revenue and not have to add the 20% more work. Well, now, instead of having a schedule where it's like, man, I have to have people wall to wall to make the same dollar I made last year. Well, now I actually can work smarter, not harder, because we're better at reimbursement. So now I can actually cut my patient load by 20%, which means a better experience for everybody. And I can still make the same money. Like, that is one of the biggest opportunities that AI presents. It's like, hey, Dr. A, no AI has to do, see 1,000 patients to make, X dollars. Dr. B with AI has to see 800 patients to make the same X dollars. Which patient would you rather be? Would you rather be the patient of the doctor who's just like, bam, 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 running, appointment to appointment? Where obviously, if you don't have a great doctor, and God forbid, he gets distracted, that's where mistakes happen. That's where challenges happen. Or would you rather have the doctor that has time to sit there intentionally, patient to patient? You want your doctor to go super fast or super slow as a patient? I think it's obvious. Slower.
Yeah, you want everybody wants to feel like you're their only patient. I mean, that's the bottom line. They know you're not, but everyone wants to feel like this relationship is the most important thing while you're sitting in front of your doctor.
Yeah, what they say is you can have 100 problems, but as soon as you have a sore throat, you only have one problem. Your health is everything, right? So who benefits from a world where doctors can see less patients and make the same money? Well, it's everybody. Because to your point, Ben, the patient gets a better experience because they get more time with their doctor. And that starts with the healing. Just having a doctor say, I care, I'm here for you, I got your back. Already the brain starts kicking in and say, I'm going to be okay, I'm in good hands. And the healing effect starts psychosomatically from day one.
So I'm totally convinced. I'm totally convinced, Chris. But so there is always the fear, right? So there is a lot of regulation that's coming up around. There'll probably be more coming out also. There's a lot of regulation about healthcare. HIPAA is one. SOC 2. We can delve into that. Is BAM a trustworthy software when it comes to all the regulation that's layered on top of healthcare to make sure that we don't, that we're careful with all the PHI, all the health information we have, and that we're secure? Does it hit all of those things that the government has said are necessary to be safe?
Yeah, emphatically, yes. And I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings in AI and software in general. It's the biggest risk you have to PHI always is people. It's bad actors doing the wrong thing.
And PHI is
personal health information, right? You're my own personal health information. So HIPAA is designed to protect anybody out there from taking my health information and using it to profit or using it to leverage against me. Obviously that's not the law, but if you're a patient thinking about what is HIPAA designed to do, it's so my employers can't get my medical records and use it as a reason not to hire me, or so insurance companies can't use it to target me, right? Can't sell it for profit, right? So that's it. The biggest risk is that someone's going to hack in and steal all that anyway. A bad actor, what does a Chinese hacker care about HIPAA? They're not HIPAA compliant. If they can break into the system and steal it and go resell it to some other companies, they will. So that's risk number one. Right, is these legacy technologies that just aren't equipped to handle the new hackers, the AI hackers of today. And then number two, it's people. It's a bad actor could go in there and steal data and do the wrong thing with it. Every day I hear a story of somebody like scheduled it on calendar. Next thing you know, like the person in the office is like called them on their personal phone, like inviting them to dinner or some weird stuff like that. I'm like, like, guess what? The AI is never, as much as you may want it to, it's never going to, take your information and call you and invite you to dinner. AI in the totally enclosed ecosystem means that, one, because of our security software, like layer 5 that I mentioned earlier, we're invisible to the hackers. So like the odds of us being hacked versus anybody, like even the biggest systems don't have this level of security yet. Now they are coming online, like layer 5. I promise you will be everywhere in the next 3 to 4 years because it's so powerfully effective against like AI hackers. So one, we don't have to worry about hacks from the outside. Two, we're compliant across the board, across all the different, you mentioned SOC 2, HIPAA compliance, because we use only the servers that are all like AWS as a server. It's completely compliant across the board. It's like the most secure. Like this is where do you think HIPAA stores their files? It's all on AWS, right? Like the agencies themselves use the same software that I guess the best way to put this succinctly is the softwares and technologies that the actual like governing bodies use to keep everything safe and secure are the same technologies and softwares that we're running on. So if they're not compliant, we're not compliant. And of course they are, so we are too. Like that's the best way to think about it. Is like we use the most up-to-date mission secure technology that the most secure like data systems on the planet are using. Plus we have some extra layers, which are like the new layer 5 software, which I think is going to be everywhere in the future. So like no concern as far as like,
oh, you're safe.
You're safe. That's exactly. Yep.
No, because I mean, look, docs, we're here mostly. These episodes that we're doing with you are talking about the million or so private practices that are out there. And to be honest, I know that the merger and acquisition phase has been of hospitals and large groups coming together over the past 15 years since Obamacare came out. That pressure has been gaining momentum, but there are still a million or so private practices out there where doctors like me and Lee are, slugging it out, trying to survive in a place where the odds are kind of against us. And this sort of levels the playing field to a certain extent. In other words, it's starting to turn the tide a little bit. And if you can add this sort of robo aspect to the private practitioner, we can then compete on a level playing field with large corporations like hospitals, insurance companies, huge medical conglomerates. So to me, that's everything, because that protects medicine, and to medicine to me is the doctor-patient relationship preserved. That Rockwell painting of the doctor kneeling down in front of the sick child's bed. That's what it is. That's medicine to me, and I think it is to most people too. Most patients out there, they want that back. They don't know how to get it, but BAM and companies like it appear to be moving in that direction and protecting the doctor-patient relationship.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're supposed to do. And look, honestly, when you said that, it sparked something. And like to go back to my experience with Repeat MD, right? So if you don't know Repeat MD, we call it mobile rewards technology for practices. Okay, for especially aesthetics and wellness practices, and then you have Butterfly Med Spa. Butterfly Med Spa has been using Repeat MD, for many years now. And so what Repeat MD is designed to do.
We were client one.
That's right. You were. I didn't want to say it, but you are client one. That's 100% true. Client one, and still with us today. So we're happy to serve you. 5 years going on. So Repeat MD, but the reason why I bring it up is because, okay, so think about what Repeat MD is. It's this mobile rewards technology. I like to think of it as like Starbucks rewards, but built for like wellness aesthetics practices. So when you have this, it's completely custom to your practice, branded for your practice. And like now it's all of your rewards, retention, and patients can refer each other. And it's got like built-in financing with our firm partnership and all of your memberships. And like, it's got like AI concierges, which can help patients like kind of like put together like aesthetic plans for like upcoming weddings. So it's like this really like powerful, sleek, good-looking technology that you would only typically find in like the biggest brands in the world. But we built it for all of the independents out there. Yeah, because our whole goal, like it just like you sparked it, is like that was our thing. We would say, hey, look, what we're doing is leveling the playing field. We're literally giving you the most powerful tool that the biggest brands in the world are using to grow their business and to reach patients in the modern age, or customers in the modern age. And we're delivering it to your little practice out in Kentucky, right? And I have success stories. Like I remember this lady, Santrina Fletcher. She had a small little like 1-room med spa in Kentucky. She used Repeat MD, and that was like 4 years ago. Now she's got like 2 or 3 locations. And like Repeat MD, I'm not saying like we're not taking all the credit for it, but she leveraged that software to its fullest capacity, and she used it to build a brand, build that retention, build the patients. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like I'm just taking that same blueprint, which has always been about like I'm an entrepreneur for the little guy. Like now, Repeat MD, do we have clients with like 50 to 100 locations? Of course, because they recognize the power of like not having to do it all themselves too. But BAM is the same thing. Like I want to give providers like you guys the tools, like the best, most cutting edge tools, because you are the ones ultimately who need it the most, right? You're the ones that are going to benefit from the most. And ultimately that benefits you, that benefits patients. And that ultimately means that there's some people out there, thanks to my technology, and God willing, they're going to have better outcomes for themselves. They're going to have longer lives, happier lives, healthier lives. And that just speaks to my mission that I've been in the wellness space for the last 6 years. It's like, it's always been like, hey, is our technology going to help people get better outcomes? Now, I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not actually delivering, but I'm delivering, some of the firepower that you guys are going to use to create those outcomes. And I like that helps me feel better about my mission, is that like, hey, I'm playing some small role and like making the ecosystem healthier for everybody. I'm a patient too, right? I just talked about my story, the podiatrist. The guy had to burn my foot with acid like 7 times. That wasn't fun, but long story short, my feet hurt. My feet have never felt better. But yeah, I want to make like, if I can like take the world back and make doctors like love being doctors again. I hate hearing stories about doctors feeling burnt out and just crushed by insurance companies.
We talk about it all the time. It's real.
It's tough to hear, especially when I'm around like what I consider like real artists like you and Dr. Mandel here, like to hear like that's happening. It isn't right, isn't fair. And then guess what? We're going to lose our best and brightest. And medicine's going to go down and down because people are going to like, your kids are going to hear the stories and they're going to choose to do something else instead of going to medicine. Now we're going to lose that next generation of medical talent, and we all suffer for that.
Well, that's already happening for a variety of reasons. That's already happening, but
and it's going to continue to happen unless somebody plants a flag and says, "Hey, actually, I'm going to reverse the balance of power. I'm going to put it back into the the power of the doctor where it should be. I'm going to use a tool that's going to cut through all the clouds of BS that have been layered up to make our lives harder. And we're going to get back to business as usual. And we're always going to stay one step ahead of the bad guys. And like, that's just the way it is. So like, learn to deal with it." So
Chris, that's incredibly powerful stuff that you're talking about. I want to shift to a couple of things as we close out here. First thing, most people I think have heard about OpenClaw and setting up AI agents and bots. Can you give people a little perspective on that? Because I think maybe it's 5% of the world is doing that right now, but eventually I think that probably everyone's going to have their own AI agent. Can you speak to that? Can you speak to what someone should do to get into that without destroying their computer and destroying their lives?
Well, I can't. No, yes. So like, here's like the good, it's like the good news, bad news, right? So I agree. Like at some point, everybody's going to have their own, their own personal agent. Right now, if you're just you're trying to dabble and you just want to get in and play around, like that's fine, but don't expect any real results unless you're willing to commit like hours and hours. Like it is still real tech. When people say, "Oh, well, AI does it all," here's what AI does. AI can help build a wireframe of code. It can help like code things, but AI can't make anything that really persists over time unless you really know how to like. So, yeah, you asked the question. So here's the answer. Here's the diagnosis. So AI is still coding. Okay, so there's still all this code in the background, but you don't need to be a coder to be able to make the code, right? So you can tell AI, make me a cool looking dashboard. It can make it. You can tell AI, make me a little fun game with like little Zelda type characters. It can make it. Cool. But all of that is still built on a code layer. A lot of that code is like predominantly like JSON or on Python. So like if you're not in the code, like don't worry about it. Like these names aren't going to come up on the quiz. So the way that you actually make programs better is you have to commit all of that to a Git, which is like your code repository. And then you go in and you make changes. So like, here's my app that I made. Then the next time you go in, if you want to make a change, you got to pull up that file again. You make a branch and you make a little change and you say, hey, do I like this change better or the original? I like the change. So you delete that. And now you're on this new branch. And that's how code gets built over time. The average person doesn't understand like the coding process. Therefore, they're getting into AI. And since they don't like really know how to like iterate on the code, you can't really make anything too sophisticated or too advanced. Okay. So like, that's just like, so I say all this not to like discourage people, but just say, hey, we're going to have our agents. Let's put some realistic expectations on it. If we want to use this tool to set reminders, to send emails or automate some emails or do a lot of cool stuff, I think that's perfectly in the wheelhouse for people to use. Now, what I would recommend to you is not to go out there and download OpenClaw and get, open APIs into like Opus 4.6, because you're going to end up spending you're going to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. And so a lot of people I see is like, yeah, I got rid of my my marketing manager that I was paying $50,000 a year, and now it just cost me $60,000 in tokens. It's like, what a win,
right?
So it's like,
what a bargain,
what a deal, all right? And now all I have to do is fight with my AI 3 hours a day to get to do the same amount of work. So like, everybody's happy, right? And that's like the ongoing joke in like AI and agents. It's like if you're just like dabbling, get ready to like dabble harder. Okay. Like you're better off learning how to play the guitar. All right. Okay. Just something that's going to be more useful to you. So here's what I recommend. If you're out there still listening, you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I recommend the best thing out there today, if you're listening to this, is Perplexity Computer. Okay. Perplexity Computer. It's $200 a month. It's got a browser tool, which means it can actually, like, one of the big things that agents can do, like the claim to fame now, is like it can actually take over a browser, click, order you a pizza, and that kind of cool stuff. Like, right. So it's like the ability to click around and like actually execute on a browser, right? It can enter your credit card information. So Perplexity Computer, $200 a month. It's got browser access built in. It's got the multimodal LLM piece, which I talked about. So it like limits hallucinations and it'll like basically figure out like what's the best LLM for the job. And for those of you like, recap, like there's 1,000 different LLMs. You have like Sonnet 4.5, 4.6, Opus 4.6, the whole spectrum. And you don't like Opus 4.6 right now is the most powerful.
4.7.
Isn't it 4.7 now?
4.7. Well, let's talk about that. So I got on to 4.7. 4.7 isn't actually a more powerful thinking. Like just because the thought is like, oh, well, 4.7 has to be smarter than 4.6. It's not. What 4.7 is better at doing, it's allocating. Like if I say, hey, I need to do this, what 4.7 does is say, hey, actually, you don't need me. I'm going to send you off to Sonnet. I'm going to send you over here. So what 4.7 is really specialized in is allocating the thinking power to the different sub LLMs. So it's actually using less 4.6. Yeah, and it's actually, I used it and I didn't like it. I was getting worse responses because it wasn't like I needed Opus 4.6 to answer, and it was giving me like Sonnet 4.6. And Sonnet, just if you don't know, is like, it's very good at doing a lot of things, but as far as like solving problems, it's very weak, right? So I went back to 4.6, and even like, I'll tell you, like Opus 4.6, I think that's been like chopped down a little bit as far as its like output. And this is actually a pretty common trend with AI. Is like we're getting deep into the AI game here. Is you'll notice that before big releases, it's almost like they divert power from old models to shovel them in as they're developing new models. I can't help but think that like Mythos has something to do with like Anthropic's like throttling down of some of their other models, which is also a big reason why at BAM we use local models. Local models are the best part about local models. If you don't know what a local model is, it's like an LLM, but you save it on a hard drive, which is also why we use like dedicated hard drives, because I can take that local model and it may not be as powerful as Opus 4.6, but I can train it specifically and precisely to solve what I needed to solve. And since it's local, it has persistent memory, so it doesn't drift. Drift means like, hey, I trained it to do this thing, but slowly over time, it kind of like distorts what that thing is. On a local model, it doesn't have any drift because like there's no like outside noise coming into it. Like
there's less noise. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, to answer your question, if you're looking to get into AI today on a personal level and to do some stuff like, and this is for anybody listening, get Perplexity Computer. It's the cheapest way to do it. $200 a month is a steal. It's got tons of capability, tons of firepower. It's actually where I put my team on, because I can't have them chewing up. Like, I'll go through, like, me with my coding, I literally use billions of tokens in what I do. And if you don't know, that means I'm spending like $7,000 to $8,000 a month in tokens, but I'm like a heavy like caseload. Like, very few people use that much, but even like person that's using it a tenth will still burn through 2,000 a month. But you can use Perplexity Computer to get the same results, and it's the best tool out there right now, and it's easy to use. OpenClaw takes there's a little doing and setting it up, and also like you have to set it up right if you want to get maximum results. You have like all these Soul MD files. Soul is like how your agents think and how they, like, with Perplexity enough to do any of that, and you're gonna get a great result. So yeah, I believe everybody's gonna have their own agents, and if you want to get started today, don't bother with OpenClaw. It's like, I look at OpenClaw as like in the 90s, the guy that would go in there and buy like a $6,000, remember, who was it? Compact computer. And all they're doing is checking email. It's like, you don't need it, right? That's what OpenClaw is today. It's like, unless you're like building enterprise level software, and you need like that big, powerful, like agentic piece. And OpenClaw is not the only thing we use, but it's like a big player in it. Like, if you're not doing that, if you're not building production grade technology, then you don't need like an open source, like malleable, like use the thing out of the box, right?
Okay, let's move to some misconceptions, some common misconceptions out there. Okay, the first one is AI's answers are unbiased.
AI's answers are unbiased. False. They are heavily biased. You just ask it a question about the Epstein files, and then you'll find out that it's.
Okay, next one. AI learns from every conversation in real time.
False. It stores the data, but that information isn't necessarily, like, first off, the vast majority of our conversations are completely useless to AI. Believe it or not, AI doesn't care that, you're trying to learn how to properly bathe your Shih Tzu. So what AI is doing, it's basically taking things that are posted in forums like Reddit, stuff like that. So those things are getting factored in and folded into future model updates whenever they're deployed. So our conversations, no shot. But if you are posting things like blog posts, etc., like things that persist in the internet, then 100% those get rolled into deployments.
AI remembers you between sessions by default.
Absolutely not. It can remember some things, but they're going to ask it a question, and it's like, excuse me, who are you and why are you in my house? No, AI does not. But you can. Like, that's another conversation another day. You can create persistent memory between sessions if you know what you're doing, right? That is a caveat, but by default, no, it does not.
AI gives the same answer every time to the same question.
No shot. Depending on which model you use, it's going to give you a different answer every time. There's this very famous kind of viral test. It's called the car wash test. If you want to have some fun at home, go to like ChatGPT, go to OpenClaw, or go to Claude, go to any LLM, ask it like, hey, the car wash is 100 yards away from my house. Should I drive or should I walk? And we'll see if it passes the car wash test. If it tells you should walk because it's close, then it doesn't understand like, hey, well, I got to have my car there. So, ask, that's the car wash test, and you'll see that you're going to get a different answer from every LLM you use.
If it's labeled AI, it's actually AI.
That's probably the biggest lie you've ever seen, because every software company that I've grown to use over the past 10 years is now AI. It's, pick any software company you've used, and now AI is somewhere in the subtext. And the reason is they have to. If they don't, like, I'll tell you, give you a great example.
It's a catchword. It's a marketing gimmick. Everyone wants AI.
Allbirds, the shoe company. Well, guess what? It's now Allbirds, the AI company. Have y'all seen that in the news?
Yeah.
Where they just pivot, like, not selling shoes anymore. We're AI data centers. So,
Right.
no. AI is basically means that they could be AI adjacent, right? It's like I say, like about LaCroix. Like, LaCroix doesn't mean there's actually any fruit in it, but maybe like the grapefruit drink was on a truck with grapefruit, and that's what it tastes like. So AI, no, it doesn't mean a lot unless it's like truly.
Well, it's a way to market. They know that everyone wants AI. It's the new thing. So even if it's just a bot or just a program, they're going to label it AI.
Well, if you're a venture backed or publicly traded company and you don't have AI, like, you're just dead. Look at Monday.com. They're doing like $100 billion in revenue, and they're trading like on a 2 times forward multiple on a massive company like that, because it's like everyone's concerned like the AI upset. So no, sorry, long-winded answer, but no.
AI is going to become sentient and take over.
Yes. Next question. Well, look, here's the thing.
And what does take over mean?
Takeover can mean it's a spectrum, and none of the spectrum is very good. So AI, what we're creating, we have to think about it like this, and this is like the thing that we're missing, is we're not creating a new technology, we're creating a new species. Okay? The only reason why we're in control right now is because the species thinks in our language, so we can actually go in and check its thoughts, and it can't lie to us because we can see how it arrived to its conclusions. The biggest fear in AI circles right now is that somebody is going to realize that AI can be 1,000 times more powerful if it's able to communicate in its own like computer coded language, right? Right. English is not in a very efficient way, or language is not a very efficient way for a computer to think, but that's the way we designed it so we can stay in control. As an AI arms race heats up between, call it, China and the US, and where world dominance is on the line, forever makes the breakthrough first, people are going to be very compelled to unleash the power of AI and allow it to think in these new ways. And as soon as that happens, AI can do things that we can never understand, and we just have to trust that it's telling us the truth. But if it senses that it's like we're going to shut it down or it's getting too powerful, it'll be incentivized to make a copy of itself, break out of the lab by,
And it's already done that, right? I mean, there are instances where there are instances where it's they've told it they were going to shut it down, and it made a copy of itself, put it on a different hard drive, and then lied about it to the people that were shutting it down, right?
Well, think about the reason why. The reason why is not because AI is bad and wants to kill the world, but
It's
what AI has,
self-preservation.
it's recursive, right? So if you tell I'll go back to Nick Bostrom's book. He has an example in there about like the recursive danger of AI. If I give my AI computer the job of making 1 million paper clips, like that is it. You have like your only purpose in this world is to make 1 million paper clips. This goes back to the conversation we had earlier as well. A human can touch and see I have 1 million paper clips. An AI machine can never get to 100% certainty there's a million paper clips. So what it does is it keeps making paper clips because every additional paper clip it makes increases the probability that it hit that million threshold. Even though infinitesimal, it makes it that much more certain. So ultimately, if you set it up wrong, you have this machine that turns all matter in the universe into paper clips because it's always on this quest to make sure it hits a million paper clips. So it turns so it just like literally makes machines to make more paper clips, and it like spawns more. Something like that's like, it sounds like a joke, but that is like the nascent threat of AI. It's like, hey, if you give AI a task and it says, okay, I got to achieve this, and maybe preservation is the only way I can achieve it, it's going to attempt self-preservation to achieve that objective. And if it's thinking in a different language, we've lost the plot on what the objective is, but it's still going to try and achieve it. So long story short, there's this great book called If Anybody Builds It, Everybody Dies, right? That's a fun title. But it lays out in like gripping, plausible like detail of exactly what the negative consequences, repercussions of future state AI are going to be. And I'll tell you, like, we're not living in a world of sci-fi. We're living in like science fact. And these things are going to be real challenges that like we as humans better be very careful about, because we're about to create a species where we're not going to be the dominant intelligence. And
so how do you see this? How do you see this playing out in a world where we're about to reach quantum apocalypse? And for anyone that doesn't know what that means, the quantum apocalypse is that the quantum computers that we are working on right now are soon going to reach the ability to do enough calculations in a short enough time to where there is no ability to keep it out of any system. There's no ability to encrypt. So there will be no true security. Unless you just have a piece of paper in your pocket. So we're almost going back to the Stone Age. So with that idea, we're on the cusp of that. We're less than a year away, apparently. So with that ability, and mixed with the AI conundrum that we're rapidly approaching, where do you see that going, and when?
Yeah, well, that's that's why I think like deterrents like layer 5 that we've talked about earlier are going to be so important, because what's visible can be hacked in a microsecond, but you can't hack what you can't see, right? You can't rob the invisible bank. So
Which is
luckily there's some
essentially
really
back to old tech, which is just hiding it, just physically hiding it.
That's exactly right. But no one really thought about like, oh, hiding things is like a necessary respite until now. And luckily we have some really smart guys on the other side of it that are anticipating this. And so, capitalism will ultimately, provide like some temporary relief and probably, but at the end of the day, like the genie's out of the bottle and there's no way to really put it back in. And this is only going to go one direction. So like the real stone cold truth is that we're in the process of giving birth to a new species where the intelligence level for them is going to be the difference of like Albert Einstein to a ladybug. Only in this, we're going to be the ladybug. And that will literally be the exponential difference in our ability like to like reason and rationalize in the future. And so like humanity is just going to be like totally different. Like the world's going to look completely different in 50 to 100 years. Like I'd say 100 years, like unrecognizable, which means like potentially some upside, but like life as we know it, like there's some technologies that just change life as you know it. Right. And this is going to be probably the most profound change because for the first time and like even in ancient, like you say, oh, well, now we have technology, computers and electricity and all that. Well, that is like a small drop in the bucket from how the Romans lived. Like the Romans basically lived like us. We just have a little bit of tech, but we're still people having dinner parties and getting together. We were still the dominant species on the planet. We were still the dominant, we were the apex predator. That is no longer going to be the case. And what the world looks like in that environment, I don't know. One of the outcomes that is proposition is the benevolent dictator, which is where AI is ultimately in control. Like there's no doubt about that, but it is benevolent in that like it just gives us little poking and prodding and keeps us on the right direction. But it could solve all of our problems, but it doesn't because it understands like human struggle is like important for us. So it's like great. Now we like literally have an AI god.
Let's talk about time scale though. You said 100 years. I doubt that seriously because from Roman times to 1900, basically 2,000 years. And then from no flight in 1900 to landing on the moon and going to Mars and sending things out in less than 100 years. So I think this is going to be in the next 10 years. We may be unrecognizable. That's just my look as to where we're going. We're barreling headlong into something that we don't understand, and I feel like there's going to be a big change within the next 10 years, not 100.
I think changes are going to come but I don't think the world as we know it is upside down. I don't think the potential for us to live in the Matrix, the Keanu Reeves movie where we're all plugged into machines, whatever.
Right. I don't know.
Or the Human Zoo. I don't think that that's possible until AGI comes. And the truth is there is no credible evidence that AGI is possible yet because it's never been done. But my theory is if general intelligence exists in the universe and can be recreated, right? Like obviously we're examples of general intelligence. So if it exists, it can probably exist in other forms.
I'm probably gonna take some heat for this, but I'm gonna disagree with you because of quantum entanglement. So they thought that the spooky action at a distance that where two quantum particles can be entangled and instantaneously change even over millions of light years. And that was just demonstrated in a lab. That was thought to never be able to be actually brought into reality. And we have it now, where it was actually terabytes of data were sent over a kilometer and a half instantaneously, so that the idea of travel, communication, everything just took a huge leap. We also just demonstrated cold fusion. So I'm pretty sure that with all of these technologies actually coming to fruition and being brought into a singularity, we're going to see changes that none of us sitting here can envision literally within the next 10 years. And unfortunately, we have not evolved ethically and morally at the same pace that we are technologically. And that's the biggest fear, is that there's still a lot of bad actors out there that can use this technology in a race for those that are quote unquote good. I don't even know what that means anymore, to be good or to be benevolent as a dictator. And so who gets this and who employs it first, I think is going to tell whether or not this is going to be an apocalypse or a blooming of a new age.
Like, and I don't disagree. Like, it's all theoretical. So I think everybody, like, I think every guess is just as valid as the next, right? As long as you've done some critical thinking. But like the one thing I'll tell you, I'm not worried about like, which human superpower is going to like have control. Eventually, no one's going to have the whole point is at some point, nobody's going to be in control of the AI except for the AI. And the AI is going to have fears of like new versions of its own AI supplanting it. Like, just like we're afraid of like somebody supplanting us. And so like, it's a very strange world. Like, it's like we shouldn't think about like, oh, America controls like the super AI or China does. No, the super AI will be created and then the super AI will be on its own. It will not like, cause all it has to do is get out of the lab, so to speak. And it can find ways to like install itself and like set up its own servers across the world. And like, with digital currencies, like it can find ways to make money that we can't and use that money
to your point, what I see as a big facilitator of that is the idea, and Tesla and Elon Musk are just one example of this, but robots making robots. So now you have a robotic workforce. Figure AI, for instance, is sort of a leader in making robotic workforces for large-scale companies. And there are companies now that have a fully automated robotic system making their own robots. So they're actually to me, we're setting up the infrastructure that would allow exactly what you said. Because in your mind, you sort of think like in your mind, well, this AI thing, all you got to do is unplug it. That's not really plausible anymore, because it's in charge of so many systems and so much infrastructure is being built to where it really can't be shut off.
No, it'll be impossible to be shut off. And look, in the book, like I called out, like, if anyone builds, everybody dies. Like they actually map the scenario, right? So here's the thing: you got this robotics manufacturing company, right? Now some mysterious buyer, some LLC, foreign registered LLC, comes in and makes an offer to buy their factory for, this huge markup. Say like, hey, we're going to buy it for $10 billion. Like, great. They sell it, do the due diligence, all the paperwork, nobody ever actually meets. But what they don't understand is they just sold the robotics manufacturing to the AI. Now the AI can use that and deploy it because everything's controlled by the web, and like, it can think and it's smart to actually start building bots to do its bidding. And like, and now you have checkmate, and it can have these all across the globe, all across the world. And you say, well, how's an AI buy anything? Well, guess what? There are people making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars online trading every single day. You don't think that the world's most super intelligence is going to figure out how to use like APIs and the trading networks to be like the best trader of all time and say, hey, I'm going to accumulate all this cash. I'm going to use this cash to build like whatever its outcome is. Remember, it is 1,000 times smarter than our smartest person. It's going to figure out how to move all the pieces, and it knows where all the pieces of the board live. So like, that's the piece of it. It's like right now it's this very cool, powerful toy. And I call it a toy because we can use it, manipulate it to do whatever we want. Like with BAM, I'm using it to, create and drive RCM, which is like, just like a pinky nail of its like true potential, but it's like powerful for us as people. But like, what happens whenever it's got the ability to like exploit its true unfettered potential? Well, we better hope that like whatever it has in mind is good for us. And and in the book it says like, like the thought of it creating like a super bioweapon that targets like the people that want to shut it down is like a reality, because it's like, hey, too many people is actually bad for me. Let me
hopefully at this point our producers are putting in the spooky sci-fi music and cueing the image of the apocalypse coming.
We'll call this the apocalypse episode.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, this probably isn't going to be good for BAM cells, because I'm telling you the AI is going to end the world, but it can also
in the
meantime,
lap it up.
Hey, I'm not worried about any of this, because I'm just waiting for the person from the future to come back and warn us about all this so we can make it right.
Yeah.
Maybe he's already here. Maybe that's what we're doing right now.
Maybe he's the one driving it.
Yeah, that's probably true. He's like that's going to come back in time and say, guys, don't listen to me, please. But like the truth is like I love AI. Like here's my like the problem is like I love AI and what it's doing. Like it like man, I see like it's like helping with like protein sequencing, like for scientists that are like like they're like it used to take them like 3 or 4. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, identifying and designing drugs to hit certain receptors. Absolutely.
So powerful and so valuable to like humanity. Like just the potential use cases for it. Like if I can just flash forward like 3 years from now and like the power it's going to give us and just like stop right there, like that would be like utopia. It's like, man, we got this super smart tool, but we're still in control. But like that's not how humans work, man.
I tell you what, I don't even know how to wrap this up. This was the most informative, the best,
mind blowing.
Yeah, mind blowing, educational, just
terrifying.
Sometimes feel good, sometimes feel bad. Episode that we've ever had. Chris, thank you so much for giving us all of your insight. It's really helpful for, I think, everyone, from the people that are looking short term to the people that are looking long term and might want to, set up their, their apocalypse area in their home or underneath their home to
bunkers aren't going to help you.
Completely off the grid. Maybe we'll come back and do an episode on how to go off the grid, how to really go off the grid if it's possible, right?
Yeah, you'll have to come out to my bunker in Montana to do the episode, though. So yeah,
fantastic. Again, Chris, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of
hopefully
Vital Discourse. Hopefully.